Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer. We talk a lot about whose stories get told and whose get left out. But today we're talking about a deliberate act of erasure and an equally deliberate act of correction. The National Endowment for the Arts released its Big Read, a list of 24 titles tied to America's 250th anniversary, and the message was unmistakable. 14 white men, 5 white women, 3 black men, 1 Native American woman, 1 Latina woman, 0 black women, not one. Despite the fact that black women's labor, activism, intellect, and creativity have shaped every chapter of this nation's democracy story, they were simply erased. But rather than protest, Team Unerased did something more powerful. They created Power Read 25. Power Read 25 is a campaign that centers Black women in the story of American democracy. It begins with 25 biographies selected by a panel of civic, literary, and cultural leaders, and it launches in July 2026 right here in Washington, D.C., before going nationwide in 2027. And joining me now is the architect of this movement, Gwen McKinney, founder of Unerased and creator of Power Read 25. Team Unerased is telling us that storytelling by and about Black women is not just cultural preservation, it's civic education, it is political organizing, it is historical correction. Wow, Gwen, I am so excited to have you on to talk about this today and to really correct the story that so many people are trying to erase. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Thank you very much, Denise. And I am so excited that the Washington Informer has joined us as our official Power Read media partner. So thank you for that. And thank you for partnering and locking arms with us.
Well, we've been talking a lot about, I think, the rekindling and the resurgence of Black literature, of literature in general, because we thought books were dead and everything. But, we're writing more profusely, we're telling more stories. And but no, nobody knows if we don't tell the stories about the stories or the writers who are writing those stories, like you're doing with this Power Read. When you found out about the list of 24 titles for Big Read and not a single Black woman was included, what was your first thought? And what made you choose this form of protest?
Yes, and reading initiatives are a very popular way to galvanize community and cultural support. So the idea of the National Endowment for the Arts, which is composed of a board totally appointed by this current president, speaks, like you said, it speaks volumes. Every title was carefully selected. I don't understand what that number 24 was. We did them one better and had 25. But the titles were one thing, the authors were another. And not a single author. You happen to know, most people may not know, but Black women read more books, and there was a study done on this. Black women read more books than any other demographic group, and that includes across all formats, whether we're talking about bound books, we're talking about ebooks, we're talking about audibles. Black women are readers. We read and we also write. And to not include a single Black woman author is just clearly, Denise, that's clearly, that was not an omission. That was a statement. And you're right, rather than us decide, oh, we're going to protest the NEA, no. We took a page from our patron saint and ancestor, Octavia Butler, who says, you got to write your own world. You've got to make your own worlds. And she says worlds because she's a science fiction futurist. You got to write yourself in. And what we decided to do is just pull from what people have already written in. And you
Mhm.
know this well as the informer and the Black press. If we don't tell our stories, who will?
When I went to Mahogany Books, um, their book festival not too long ago, last year actually, and you saw the long lines. I was amazed at seeing the long lines of people there to get their books signed, and they were being signed by Black women authors. That's who drew the crowd to that festival. And I think we see it time and time again. And so I think it's amazing that you all, you decided to do this as a form of protest. When you talk about the 25 titles, what is the criteria you're going to use to select them? Because there's a lot out there.
Oh, yes, that's an excellent question. And first of all, anyone who is interested in suggesting a title, all you have to do is go to unerasebws.com, and we actually are accepting. We have a form, and if you go on our website, you can download the form and you can enter your own suggestion. How? First of all, they're biographies. Why biographies? Biographies are a very special genre of storytelling that gives you a snapshot into someone's life and lived experience. And we thought by narrowing it to biographies, we could tell the story of individual contributions, which also tell a story about time, place, and impact. And so, while we certainly are interested in biography, ships or limiting the authorships only to Black women. Now, honestly, the vast majority of authors will be Black women. And the biographies, Denise, will span, first of all, they're celebrating 250.
Right. That was the point I was
We've
going
been
to
here
ask.
since 1619.
Exactly.
And the great poet, for instance, Phyllis
Phyllis
Wheatley,
Wheatley.
would
Exactly.
tell you she didn't wait to write until independence. It was during the Revolutionary War era. But beyond that, our stories basically are bold and beautiful. They capture, I mean, very revered and well known people like Harriet Tubman or Ida B. Wells, but also often obscured and unknown people.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
one of my suggestions, for instance, was Callie House, and who knows who she is? And it's a biography written by the great historian Mary Frances Berry about this woman just after slavery who launched a campaign for washerwomen and pensions of the formerly enslaved workers. And it ended up laying the ground for the reparations movement. Who knew? But that's why we want to tell these stories.
Yeah, I want to, we hope that folks will participate and submit names. But just got a press release the other day from Amelia Bundles, who has written many stories about her
Madam C.J.
grandmother.
Walker.
Yeah, right, Madam C.J. Walker. So there are lots of authors there, and little known authors too, as you said. People who've written books in our communities about things that they've experienced. We just interviewed Dean
Watson.
Watson yesterday, yeah, and her book and the award that she won for writing her story. It's not a biography necessarily, but it is a personal story, right? And describe that.
Into a memoir, and memoirs are another form. And maybe, Denise, one of the reasons why we started off, we launched with biographies, is because it goes to the soul of the human experience.
Gwen,
And that
but I hate to interrupt you, but don't lose your thought. But define for our viewers. I mean, most people would know what a biography is, but maybe they don't. You know, maybe they
okay.
don't understand
Well, good question. You can't assume. A
right.
biography is a work that zeroes in on an individual, and it basically tells a story. It could be of their life. An autobiography is a work of someone telling their own story. So we, rather than looking at autobiographies, we're focusing on biographies at this moment. And we're hoping that we can institutionalize power read. Maybe next time we will look at memoirs, or maybe we could look at graphical novels, or any range of genre that truly capture the storytelling of our lived experience. How we're selecting them. So anyone can suggest. I suggested 4 titles, by the way. And I don't know whether they'll get in or not. But we have a very able advisory committee composed of people who are civic, literary, academic, who span the different range of Black women's professional and thought leadership, and they will select from the list that is suggested. And as I said, I have 4 titles. And actually, there's a couple more I want to add, but certainly the advisory committee will pick the 25. And why did we choose 25? Well, first of all, it's a round number. Unlike 24, I don't know what that was about, but 25 is a round number. But also, 25 gives us that whole notion. I mean, you're talking about 250, okay? We dropped the 0. And for us, our span of history and contributions extend way beyond, a 250th anniversary. So
Yeah. I'm thinking also, I've had the opportunity to attend the book lovers event in Baltimore, sponsored by the library there. And there are unbelievably hundreds of book clubs in the DMV. Most of them were women,
yeah,
right? So you know that
yeah.
they know what their list of books. Some of those book clubs are as old as 35 and 40 years old. So one would hope that they would pitch in and recommend titles as well, of the maybe it's a selection that they do with their group. And I know a couple I'm going to suggest. Why don't you all submit some titles? This would be an amazing thing. I still am interested in the 250th anniversary. You talked about authors who've written from that time, but how are we tying this into, this period, and why is it so important to do it now?
Well, we're actually, not that we're ignoring or writing off 250, but we're going above and beyond before and actually looking into the future. We are not, I mean, to embrace the anniversary of, and the anniversary is really not of America, it's of the Declaration of Independence, and they were still at war.
Right.
They couldn't claim America at that point in 1776. But the point is that our lives and our contributions began way before 250. Some people may not have landed here until around that time, the founding fathers, but we beat the founding fathers here. And so I'm not going to poo-poo anyone who celebrates this 250. But I'm saying we have to be more expansive with our understanding of Black people, especially Black women's role and contribution in the unfolding of this nation. And it didn't begin 250 years ago. It began when our ancestors, brave and strong, survived a brutal Middle Passage, arrived and landed here on these shores. And the fact that they survived and that they are our ancestors, they survived so that we could thrive. And that's part of the story. For me, that's the story that is more important than a Declaration of Independence written by founding fathers who owned slaves. So, what can I say?
Talk a little bit about Unerased, because I know that the site has been there. This whole thing, the site itself, started because of the erasure of
The suffrage movement,
the
right?
suffrage movement. Exactly. I mean, you find that there are these doors that
Yeah.
are still closed to us, and
Uh-huh.
it gives Unerased a place to make statements. So talk about Unerased, the site itself.
Well, and thank you for that. And you were there from the very beginning. We launched in 2020. And initially, it was called Suffrage, Race, Power. And we were looking at, the 100th anniversary. Here's another big anniversary where we were not involved. The 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote, which was in 1920. So 2020 marked the centennial. And one would say, oh, that was a really important moment in our history. Well, Denise, and I know, and many of our listeners know, that Black women really forged not only the suffrage movement in the 19th century, in the 1800s, but also the abolitionist movement. And they viewed abolition and suffrage as one and the same. But despite the hard work and the grit and the drive of these Black women, the 13th Amendment, as you know, it ended slavery. The 14th Amendment declared that all people who are born here, quote, belong here and equal protection. And then the 15th Amendment gave Black men the right to vote.
Mhm.
All right, fast forward. The suffragettes, the white women, they didn't like that because they could not imagine that Black men would get the right to vote before them. And so they started pushing harder, and it took them a little while. But by 1920, with all the marches and agitation, and by the way, our Black women, our ancestors' involvement in
Yeah.
that push for women to have the right to vote. Well, 1920, they got the right to vote. And guess what? We were told, literally and figuratively, to go to the back of the line. The
Mhm.
biggest suffrage march, they called it the suffrage, I think they called it a suffrage parade or something
Here in Washington, D.C. I
here
believe.
in Washington. They told Black women, oh, y'all have to get to the back of the line
But
because
there's
we
one
don't
who did.
upset our Southern sisters by having you all up front. So then the point is, so that was 1920. When did we get the right to vote? 1965,
Right.
with the passage of the Voting Rights Act, because
Right.
the vast majority of Black women then and now lived in Southern states, and between poll taxes and literacy tests and brutal violence, we were not allowed to vote. So the whole purpose of Unerased was before, when we were calling ourselves Suffrage, Race, and Power, was to tell the true story of Black women's contributions historically and now to the unfolding democracy. I mean, Black women as voters, as activists electorally, is just more potent and powerful than anyone. That's why this current president wants to include us, because
Right.
we motivate people.
And
So
don't
the
forget,
idea
Black women
of
supported, in many ways, Black women supported Black women, which is how we had Black women entering into politics. You
And
know, the story continues. So with regards to Power Read 25, what's the process? People will submit their recommendations, and then what happens?
well, once the advisory committee selects the titles, and that will happen in July, we will then begin a full throttle campaign of activation, including public libraries. We are hoping to work very closely with the DC Public Library, with book clubs. And as you mentioned, Black women in book clubs are tantamount to, I think in the 90s, they became the new disco. And it is a social and cultural construct that engages and brings us together.
Yeah,
We will also be using digital media, and we will have an event. One of the things I wanted to mention, in October, I think it's October 4th through 11th, Denise, there is the Banned Book Week, where
yes, yes, yes.
the focus is going to be, as you know, I mean, not only do they try to erase and wipe out our history, but they want to ban the books and the stories that affirm that. And we're not going to let that happen, right?
Exactly, exactly. Well, this sounds like, and it's like my daddy used to say, and I'm changing the words. If it is to be, it's up to me, and no one can save us for us but us. But here, if it is to be, it's up to us. And you, Gwen, have and Unerased, I think we've come up with an excellent opportunity to engage people, not on the streets, but in the libraries, in their reading rooms, in their own personal libraries, to go and search for those books that they really like by Black women authors, and to make sure that we're not hidden or silenced or ignored. So I appreciate this. What does success look like as far as this initiative? What does that look like for you?
Well, success looks like a full, and because we're starting in the DMV, it's really important that we target literary, community, cultural, civic leaders to engage. What success looks like is that those 25 titles are end up being fully embraced booksellers, libraries, online publications. The criteria for selection is any book that is on the list should be accessible. And
Yeah.
it should be accessible in different venues, whether we're talking about the public library or um, booksellers. And we want to urge our participants to support Black booksellers. So that is really an important part of what we're doing. So, but anyway, I'll stop there and let you kind of fully embrace. And we're also looking forward to the Washington Informer uh, giving us the space for regular reviews. The 25 books will be book reviews, videos. We want to promote those books because they have meaning beyond just what's on that page.
Right. And the authors, to introduce people to Black women authors that they really may not have paid much attention to. I think all of this plays an important part in this initiative. So we're right here with you. We support it, and we hope to grow a movement among.
I do want to say, Denise, even though we are focused on biographies about Black women, we're not going to, if there's a few authors who are not Black women who have written an amazing story about a Black woman, we're not the NEA. We're not going to be that exclusive. And there's one book title that I really think is amazing about Rosa Parks, which was written by a white woman. But
Mhm.
it's a groundbreaking, revelatory story that tells the true side of Rosa Parks.
Mhm.
And so that might be worthy. I don't know. The advisory committee will select, But that, so all of of course, the vast majority of the authors will be Black women because we write more books about Black women than anyone else. But it doesn't mean that we won't include a few who are not Black women, especially if the storytelling is worthy.
Well, that's good because the people who will be submitting those entries or those book titles need to know that it doesn't have to be such a stringent. It's just got to be a biography about a Black woman.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
But hopefully, there are biographies, and there are plenty out there about Black women by Black women. So
There are many,
yeah, yeah,
probably more buying about Black women than anything else. So
right.
we don't have to scrounge around. Believe me, as
I
you know, it is a prolific, wide scale volume of potential titles to pick from.
Wonderful. So, Gwen, thank you, Gwen
Thank
McKinney of
you.
Unerased. Thank you so much for being with us today. I want you one last time to tell folks where they can go to get more information or to submit their titles.
Unerased, and it's spelled unerased with an ED. Black Women Speak is the name of the organization, and our website is unerased.bws.com.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Gwen, and I
Thank
appreciate you.
you, and I hope you'll invite me back.
Oh, always. There's always lots to talk about when it comes to
Yes,
women.
always. Well,
All
we'll keep
right.
you updated on Power Read.
All righty. Thanks a lot and have a great day.
Thank you.
All righty. I am so excited to be talking to you all about a writing festival that is on its way to Washington, D.C. It's coming back. And to have as our guest, who's going to be with us to tell us all that we need to know, is Bernadine, otherwise known as Dine Watson. I'm going to bring her on now so we can go ahead and get into our conversation. Because there's a lot that's going to be happening this weekend, and I want to, or the 28th, I should say. I've got it. I'm pushing the date ahead, Dean, so we can get it going. But welcome to this talk. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Good. So first of all, I would love for you to give us some background on the Washington Writers Publishing House with that, the nonprofit and what you all been doing with that here in the DMV.
Okay, the Washington Writers Publishing House is a non-profit, independent publishing house that's been around in the DMV for 50 years. And I found out about it a few years ago because they run a writing contest every year. And I submitted my manuscript that I hadn't been able to get published anywhere to them in their contest. And I won their first nonfiction writing prize. They had only been publishing poetry before, and that's how I got involved with the Washington Writers Publishing House. It's a wonderful organization that is really trying to open up the writing community in the DMV to all who would like to learn more about reading and writing and publishing.
Yeah, there is an amazing growth of people. I just interviewed some folks this weekend who have written books. Who were they? Well, anyway, we won't talk about who they were, but they've all recently released books, and we did it over at Busboys and Poets. And I asked the folks in the room, I said, "How many of you all have a book inside, that you just haven't put out there?" And it's funny, half the room raised their hand. So,
yeah.
I mean, talk a little bit about your journey before we get into what's going to happen on the 28th.
Well, I always loved to write. When I was in the 6th grade, I wrote the Christmas play for my 6th grade class. And it was actually acted out with me and my classmates. And so I knew I loved to write. But at that time, my parents didn't have the time, the interest, the money to send me to writing workshops and so on. And so while I knew that I loved to write, I did not think of myself as a real writer. Even though I made my living as a writer in the social policy world, I felt like I wasn't a writer unless I published a book.
Oh,
And so, and I think a lot of people feel that way. And I think
yeah.
there's a lot of prejudice in the writing community about people who have not written books.
Mm-hmm.
And so I I got sick in my 40s, and I had a kidney transplant, and then I had a second kidney transplant, and that experience was so um, visceral for me that I wrote a book about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get an agent. People told me that nobody knew who I was, so that a publisher was not going to invest in me. And so I submitted it to the Washington Writers Publishing House. Knew nothing about them. I just saw an advertisement that they had online, and I won. I won the first nonfiction award they had ever given,
Wow.
and so and that really started my journey as what I thought of as a real writer. But WWPH has been around for a while. If you know Ethelbert Miller, he was one of the early writers that was published by them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've been around, but are now really trying to open up and invite others in. And that is what the event on the 28th is all about.
So you're on the board now of WWHP. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'm an at-large member on the board, have been on the board for a little less than a year.
So that's a good sign for writers, who, because they know that you've gone what your journey's been, and so you can definitely appreciate what theirs is.
Yes.
And so this Capital Love Lit Fest, what's when and where and who and how?
Okay. Well, the Capital Love Lit Fest is the first big literary festival that the WWPH is going to be giving. It is held at the Writers Center in Bethesda. And I know sometimes people think of Bethesda and they don't go over there, but the Writers Center is another nonprofit organization that's been a partner with WWPH. I've read there many, many times. But the Lit Fest is really just exactly what it says. It's a big festival of love for readers and writers.
Mm-hmm.
People of all backgrounds are going to be there. It's free. You can pay whatever you like, but if you don't have the money, it is free to come to. I don't know the exact address, but it's all over the internet. The Writers Center in Bethesda,
Right. We
and
just posted the address. So
okay, there will be over 100 readers and writers there. There'll be several workshops about writing, publishing. There'll be a number of publishers there. It's just a big love party for people who are interested in reading and writing. There'll be some musical performances. I'm going to be performing with a musician friend of mine, Abasi Johnson. I'm also going to be heading up one of the 9 workshops that'll be going on. My workshop is entitled Black Women Writers on Love, Hope, and Healing. And I'll be doing that workshop with 4 other Black women writers. So it's going to be just a big party of love for reading and writing.
So you keep emphasizing, and I like that, the reading part. I mean, is there how is WW HP defining reading? PH. I keep
That's okay.
mixed up. But how are they defining readers? Is it just anybody just likes to read books, or is it a specific defined group?
No, I think it's that anybody who loves to read. I mean, the Washington Writers Publishing House does focus on books as opposed to other types of literature, but it really is, about the connection between readers, and writers are readers. And we want to let readers know that they can become writers. I'm a lifelong reader, and I didn't think I could become a writer, but through exposure, I was able to cultivate those skills and those connections, and here I am. I've written a book. So I think that that connection between readers and writers is something that the Washington Writers Publishing House really wants to promote.
It's interesting because you say they've been around for 50 years. And they have they been a secret to Washington?
I don't think it's been a secret, but when you're a little, tiny, small, not funded nonprofit organization, um, I, then I think that people may not know about you. And I think also sometimes literary circles can just be small
Mhm.
and tight. And I think that one of the things that WWPH has been doing in the past couple of years is just trying to open things up. I think we got our first grant from the Commission on Arts and Humanities last year, which has allowed us to grow, allow us to do workshops in different parts of the city. We last year our grant required us to do a workshop in all 8 wards of DC. And we did that. We did a workshop over in I think over in a couple of the libraries. The Francis, one
Greg
of the libraries in
Library, Francis
yeah,
Gregory. Mhm.
yeah, over in
On El,
Ward 8.
yeah.
We've done stuff all over the city. So I don't think it's been a secret per se, but I just think that the publishing house is now becoming more known. And I'm certainly doing my part. I'm certainly talking it up to other people because I think that it's a kind of a gem, and they take chances on people. I was not known at all. And they just liked my voice, is the way they described it when
Mhm.
they read my book, because the submissions are made anonymously. They don't know who you are. And so I was able to get my book published. And not only did they publish my book, but they helped me publicize it. So it hasn't been a secret, but it is now just hitting its stride.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, what do you think makes a literary salon type format more powerful than a traditional book festival?
Well, if you're
I'm sorry about that. Go
That's
ahead.
okay. If you're describing a book festival as when the writers are sitting there at tables with their books and people walk up and talk to the writers, do you mean that kind of book festival? I've been to many of them, and I've been to some that have been really good. But this festival, as we're defining it, one, it's open to everyone who wants to come. I think there is a cap of about 125 people because this place is only so big.
Yeah.
But it has lots of different ways that you can engage with writing. So there will be sort of talks, readings from the writers. There'll be workshops, and there will be a traditional book festival too, where books will be there to be bought. There will be publishers there that you can talk to about getting published. So it's just more sort of expansive, I think, and open to people who come. It's going to be like a big old love literary party.
Uh-huh. What sounds like it. And I didn't know. I know that you wrote a book, but I didn't know you were a poet as well. So now
Yes.
through your poetry with music, I mean, tell us a little bit about what people can expect.
Well, there'll be a number of different readings,
Mm-hmm.
but I've been working with a musician. His name is Abasi Johnson, and I don't know if you remember Black Sheep,
Oh
which was a big reggae group. He was
yeah.
with Black Sheep on percussion for many, many years, and I've been doing performances with him around DC for some time. But what I think. What music does, I think, with poetry is open up the experience for the listener. So that it opens up the spirit a little bit more so that you can really hear what the poet is saying and feel what the poet is saying. And Abasi is not just a drummer. And in fact, next on the 28th, he won't be playing drums with me. He's going to be playing horn and guitar. And we're going to be doing two pieces that close the show. One piece is one I'm very proud of. It's about Abbey Lincoln and Thelonious Monk. So that just lends itself to having a musician with me.
Right.
So I both read by myself, but also with musicians, and I love it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I say that there are an explosion of writers in the DMV, but the thing that fascinates me as well is the young writers. I mean, we've got high school and college age kids who are, authoring books. We have a book right now that we gave away to all of our spelling bee winners that was written by the first young Black female at age, I guess, 14, who won the National Spelling Bee. And I think it's called it's not called bragging if it's true or something.
I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah. So will there be spaces for young writers, younger writers, I should say?
Well, to be honest, I don't think that has necessarily been a specific focus of this Lit Fest, but it's certainly open to younger writers. You do have to go to the Washington Writers Publishing House website and sign up so that you can get in, but it's also free, which I think is a big advantage for younger people.
Right, right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. It sounds like it's going to be an exciting, informative, and just, I don't want to say educational because it's not about education so much, except learning about publishing. But it sounds like it's going to be a really, really great event and opportunity for local writers.
I think so, and I think the emphasis on love is important to me. This is also a celebration of a little booklet that Washington Writers Publishing House is putting out called Capital Love. And the thing that we really want to get across with both the book and the Lit Fest is that we believe that love in writing and in community is an antidote to hate. And what the world needs now, as the old song says, is love. And that's something that we want to also, promote in creating a sense of community with all kinds of people that we hope will show up at this event, but also just generally in everything that we're going to be doing as an organization.
And while I see that there are going to be, I guess, 7 African-American writers there, the event itself is greatly diverse, that you're going to have people from all backgrounds that are participating, I'll say on stage and in the audience. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I would not be on the board if that was not a goal.
Good. Well, we know that. How is your book doing now? Have you been out? What's the status? You published when? Was it about?
My book was published in 2023, and of all of the books, it is the second highest selling book that the Washington Writers Publishing House has put out.
Wow.
And I'm very proud of it. And since 2023, I'm still getting requests to read from Transplant. I'm still getting requests to appear. I've done appearances with the National Kidney Foundation, for example, and other organizations concerned with health and the health of Black people in particular, which is what I'm concerned about. But I think the book has done very well, and most books that are published don't sell more than most books, no matter who published them or how or what they're about. They don't sell more than 200 or 300 copies, and my book has done way better than that.
Wow, congratulations. Has it taken you outside of the DMV and you've had opportunities? Because transplant is, the issue is so predominant in our community because, we've done work on that. And a lot of times we don't believe in, donating
Yes.
organs,
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's a very big issue, and I traveled to Minneapolis to read from the book, but I'm also still going to be doing things with the National Kidney Foundation wherever they have their workshops and conferences in the future. And but if I could just talk to people in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
about the issue, which I have done.
Yeah.
That would be very satisfying to me. I did a piece in the Washington Post several years ago about my experience on dialysis and having a transplant. And I intend to do more writing and speaking in that area because it is, one of the top issues that African American people, health issues that African American people have to deal with.
Right. Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on and inviting us to the Capital Love, the Fest, the Lit Fest. If you want to just give us some more information one more time about when, where, and who and how, we'd love to.
Okay.
Close out.
The Washington Writers Publishing House Capital Lit Fest will be held on June 28th from 10 to 6. There'll be workshops, readings, performances, discussions going on all day. It's open to anyone who wants to attend. If you're interested in writing, if you're interested in reading, if you're interested in love and community, please come and join us at the Writers Center in Bethesda. And I think Denise said she just put the address up on the screen.
Yes, it's there.
You do have to register because we do have to have a cap on the number of people who will come in. And but please go to the Washington Writers Publishing House website to register, and we would love to see you come out on the 28th and love with us at the Capitol Lit Fest.
And get that dream of writing a book out of your head and into and let it manifest. I'll put it that way. Right.
That's right. That there will be people like me and other writers who are at various stages in their journeys to talk with you about how to make that a reality.
Wow. All right. Well, Bernadine, Dean, thank you so very much for being with us today and for sharing this information. And hopefully folks will see you on the 28th.
I hope they will. I will be there looking for people.
All righty.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Denise.
My pleasure. My pleasure.